Welcome to today's podcast, Healing Through Love, with Dr. Matt Singer, a holistic medicine specialist with an expertise in energy work, homeopathy, and works with people all around the world to help them remove emotions trapped in the body. And co-host Holly Celiano, a mother, intuitive healer, and well known to international audience as a resource for truth seekers on a variety of global concerns that are currently impacting humanity. Today's focus: get what you want by asking the right questions.
Good morning, everyone. I am Holly Celiano, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Matthew Singer. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Holly. It's a pleasure to do this with you again.
Yes, it is. And today we are going to talk about why we don't get what we want because we're not asking the right questions. And everybody says, but I have the right intention of what I want, and I'm not getting it. So why are we not getting what we want when we think we're putting out the right intention?
So this is such a great topic. So the reason why we're not getting what we want when we put out an intention, let's say we put out an intention for a relationship, like somebody wants to find the perfect relationship, bring me the perfect spouse. But their deepest sponsoring thought, that's the deepest thought behind the thought. If the sponsoring thought that they learned years ago from observing their parents that true love is not possible, then they'll keep self-sabotaging, and their vibration will be that they cannot find a healthy relationship, and they will continuously move away from pain instead of moving into a relationship which they believe is going to end up in a negative way. They'll keep sabotaging it, but the whole time wondering why they're sabotaging.
Right. And that goes to your fear is stronger than your intention. So what you're putting out, that fear overrides whatever the best intention people have. You will get whatever that fear-based belief is, that fear-based, that's the underlying of whatever your best intention is.
Absolutely. So now this is such a great topic because I've spent such a long time really trying to master this. And many people that you and I have both talked to say, well, I've kind of done this work, law of attraction, but it doesn't work for me. But what we really find is that they just don't uncover the root belief of where the fear is coming from. So I thought it'd be really neat to give a good method, like I could go over the methods that I was taught to uncover this belief that's holding them stuck where they are. Okay. So I'm going to role play with you. Okay.
Sure.
So let's say, for example, I say to you, oh, I just really want this new car. And for years I've wanted this new car, and still, where's the new car? Every year I say, this is the car that I want in my garage, this amazing sports car, and it's so rare, and how come it's not in my garage yet? So now I'm putting out a question to you. So what do you think? What do you think the first thing I'm doing wrong is?
You're asking why, because if you're always asking why, you're not going to get it, because that's creating like this open-ended, the universe reflects what you're putting out.
Yes. So buried within that why is going to be a fear.
Correct.
Yeah. So the underlying fear is I won't be able to have what I believe I want. So then deep in that idea, what do you think my ego is most afraid of? Succeeding or failing?
Failing.
Yeah.
A lot of people have fear of success.
Yes.
So they block themselves from being successful.
So real quick, why don't you just tell the listeners what the biggest difference between fear of success and fear of failure is?
Well, fear of success is you ultimately don't feel you're good enough or deserving of it.
Mhm. Yeah,
And you block yourself because that's really your underlying fear from achieving anything. And the fear of failure is that, in my opinion, is something that we've learned innately from our parents, from our upbringing. That
correct.
was the reflection that we saw, and we adopted that as our belief system.
Correct. So now if my underlying thought of where is the car keeps growing stronger, what's really growing stronger is the fear that I can't manifest and the
Right.
fear that I'm not good enough or I'm a failure or I'm not worthy or I'm not worthy of being blessed of what I'm asking for or the rules don't apply to me or I'm defective, right? Like all these false beliefs that we can come up with. So
Right.
now this starts to grow,
Hmm.
right? And it's on an unconscious level. So my ego does such a good job of hiding that. So now I'm truly in the thick of this negative belief. And every month, every year, I keep saying, why don't I have the car? I see it. I put it on my dream board. I speak it. But like you said, our strongest vibration will override our intention.
Hmm.
So
And
now
it creates your reality.
it creates my reality. So what really is my strongest vibration when I say, where's the car?
It's your fear that you're not good enough, that you are not worthy.
So then how can being unworthy attract the car, right?
Exactly.
Right. So,
And it's not only with just a car, it could be attracting the right mate in your life,
mhm,
right
absolutely.
job, the
Yeah,
right attracting money.
absolutely. So many people, they stay in a job they don't like because they're afraid that they can't find that perfect job.
Hmm.
But on the deepest level, the life that we're living in is an illusion. We are really running the show, but the ego makes this great case that we're not, that we're separated, that it's us against the world. And all these good things happen to everyone else, and maybe sometimes it can happen to me, but the odds are it's not going to happen. Well,
Hmm.
the universe just says yes. That's the key to the universe. It has one response to everything, and that's yes. So if that's my belief system, then it can only support that belief system.
Right. And that's where people get really tripped up is they're like, but I'm trying really, really hard. Well, that's what you're doing wrong. You're trying really hard. So the universe is going to reflect that it's really hard. It's not easy.
Correct. And the universe will say, yes, you're absolutely right. And we'll have more and more experiences of where it seems like it's very hard.
Right. So what do we tell everybody? That it's easy. It's your
Absolutely right.
belief needs to shift. Your questions need to change. So what would be a better question if you want that car to ask?
What would it have to feel like for me to sit in the car, for me to drive? What does it feel like to drive the car, to hear the sound of the engine, to feel the wind blowing in my face when the top's down? What does it feel like when it's pulling me back in my seat? What does it feel like for me to wax it and appreciate it and take pictures of it? So I would get into that feeling that it's so real time in my life that I can't tell the difference.
Hmm. Right. Because when you actually feel something, you're creating that energy, that vibration, that intention within your being, then that gets reflected out. And then that draws to you what you want.
Absolutely. And we can even bring it back biblically. And it goes back to the earliest of times when the scene in the Bible where Jesus was with the the 5,000 people and he took the fish and he just took a moment and didn't necessarily pray for it, but he felt the feeling of people with him being fully fed. and everybody's needs being taken care of. And he gave thanks before it showed up. And then it manifested. So that's the key of what even biblically we were taught.
Right.
Right? Ask and it is given.
Right.
But
ask and you shall receive. But
absolutely.
People aren't asking the right questions. They're not.
Correct.
They're getting it precisely what they're asking for, but they think their intentions are totally different than what they're asking for.
Correct. So Holly, that's the most important thing. So let's stick on that. We always get what we ask for, right? But so many times, even in my life, before I knew this stuff, I didn't realize that I was getting what I was asking for, because what I was asking for was not through my words. It was through my feeling. If I was saying, bring me this perfect relationship, but I had a doubt that I could find the relationship, I was getting the doubt.
Right. Because the fear is always greater than the intention.
That's exactly right.
So the universe responds with exactly what you're putting out and gives it to you. And that's exactly where people get really tripped up, because they feel they're doing the right thing, saying the right thing, putting the intention out, but their fear is so much greater that it's overriding their best intention, and the universe gives them in reflection exactly what their belief is.
That's exactly right. One of my favorite books around this subject, it was Conversations with God. And that's where Neale Donald Walsch there was a section where he was asking God, how do I manifest what I desire? And they were talking about the mode of prayer, and that the way that most people are taught is you're sitting down and please, God, please, can you please give me this? Please, please. And the whole time we're basically asking, give me this thing that I don't have and I can't have. So the universe says, okay, I'll give you more of what you don't have. But then God explains that all we have to do is just be grateful before the thing shows up. We're grateful for it even before it shows up. The gratitude is the energy that we already have. So all we have to do is shift into that energy of gratitude, being grateful for it. And then it will show up faster than we can ever imagine.
Right. Gratitude, and this is also a key factor that most people forget, that how to manifest something. It's being in a constant state of gratitude for everything. Just waking up in gratitude, walking in gratitude. And if you live a life from gratitude, then things just magically show up in your life.
Yes. So this is great. So let's talk about this. So let's say someone says, okay, all right, Holly, I'm going to do that. So they wake up and they're saying, oh, thank you for this amazing morning. And then they're brushing their teeth. Thank you for this great day. And they're getting themselves into a state of gratitude. And thank you for this breakfast. And thank you for this job I have, and for the people I in my life. And then they get the mail, and then they get a letter from the IRS saying that they owe $20,000. Now, immediately they have a choice. Are they going to let the circumstance change their state of being? Because the state of being is ultimately the reflection. So if they go right back into a place of fear and lack and worry, now that original energy is what created that letter showing up to them. Or are they going to say, wait a minute, I'm a new version of myself now. I'm so grateful that I'm abundant and the money will just show up and I'm going to pay this. Or I'm so grateful that the IRS made a mistake and they actually owe me $20,000. So they have they have an option to decide how they're going to respond to it.
Again, it's all your intention and your belief. So if your fear overrides your intention or your belief, that's what you're going to create. If your intention is of lack, you'll get lack. If your intention is of abundance, you're going to get that. You will realize based on that you can create that to go away just by how powerful your belief is.
Yes. It's so it's very humbling when we actually see how powerful we really are. I've read in a lot of other amazing books, from great spiritual teachers, where they constantly say, if we really knew how powerful we really were, we wouldn't be living a life of fear ever again.
Exactly.
If we truly knew who walked beside us at all times, we would never have any fear.
That really is the unlearning we need to work on,
Yes.
is let go of all the fear, because we live in a fear-based world.
Yes.
From the moment we're born, we're taught no, and taught you can't do this, and it's a scary, fearful world out there. And we adopt that belief. It's even subconscious in us. We don't even realize that we have that. But when I start unraveling myself and working on being on a higher state of consciousness, I realized all the fear that I had adopted that I didn't even see until you start unpacking it.
Yes. So this is what this is my favorite topic to helping people. So let's say someone comes up to us and says, "That's so great. How do I unpack it? I have this briefcase of underlying fear. How do I find it? How do I connect to it?" So let's go over some of the tools. Okay. So the first thing I like to do is I like to get into a meditation, and I like to visualize that my ego, which is going to be a replica of me, is stepping out of me, turning around, and now I'm looking directly at myself. And I'm asking myself, all of the fear thoughts that you're thinking, are they true? And then I calm myself and I focus on my heart. And then I hear an answer, no. And I say, are you sure it's not true that I'm not worthy? And I hear, no, it's not true. So why are you thinking that? And I'll hear it say, I don't know. It holds on to a program. So let's say my father or my grandfather had that thought. It will hold on to that thought and just say, okay, well, I guess that's how it is.
Right.
Right. And the soul stands back and says, okay, let's see what he's going to do with this one. So what's one way you like to unpack your bag?
So for me, the most important thing is, first I have to still myself and listen to that small voice within. What is that small voice within really telling me? Because the ego, again, will mask what our true deep down thoughts are and have you believe something that's not real. So when you really get quiet and just look, is this fear mine? Is it real? And no, it's not, because all fear is false evidence appearing real. It's our thoughts. It's things we make up in our mind that can play out these scenarios of doom and gloom and the worst things that are going to happen to us. Or it's like, those thoughts aren't mine. I'm not going to even entertain them. So it's separating what is your thoughts, what's reality, what's your fear, and realizing that you are in control of your thoughts. Your thoughts don't control you.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
once you can separate that, then you can really get a good look at to why you're feeling this. Where is that panic, that fear, the spiraling out of control coming from, where you feel you're just going down a deep, dark hole?
Mm-hmm.
It's just your thoughts. It's made up stuff that you're giving yourself different scenarios that are not even real.
That's exactly right. So now let's say someone says, oh my gosh, I'm in that spiral. What's the next step? So the second thing I found that was so powerful is I would write out the fear, right? Fear of not having enough money. Let's say that was one of the person's fears. So then I would say, okay, so my ego is only focusing on the worst case scenario, right? And what we come to find out is that we're only focusing on one charge. That charge is the fear, the negative. So I say, okay, well, what is the positive? What is the positive aspect of focusing on this fear where you think you're not going to have enough of something? And then the first response is there is nothing positive. Well, that's not true, because another law of the universe says there's always two sides to the energy. That's the yin and the yang, the dark and the light. There's always two sides. So then I have to find out positive. Well, what is the positive? What is the real positive benefit of me experiencing this fear? Well, it's showing me that on the other side of that fear is truly my abundance. So it's showing me that there's never a lack in the universe, that I'm just believing that there's an abundance of lack thinking, but there's never a lack, ever. So on the positive side, it gets me to see that if I just switch this energy of fear and I just move it 1 degree the other way, the other side of that is empowerment, love, excitement, knowingness. So whenever I can see, well, what is the benefit of this? Well, one of the benefits is it showed me that this is not real. It showed me that everything is temporary. So this temporary false belief, this temporary hell that I'm keeping myself in, can change the second I choose to allow it to change.
Mm-hmm. And it's all about our belief system. And you and I have talked about this before. Your beliefs create your reality. So if you don't have what you want in your life, it's because your belief system is preventing you from having what you want in your life.
Yes.
And
so now let me do this. So
Okay.
here's a question for you. So at what age do you think the negative belief systems get ingrained? How old do you think?
Well, it's by age 7. Whatever you have in your life is cemented in you by age 7. So that
then,
first 7 years of your life impacts the rest of your life.
So then if we were to write down all those fears that we have and then write down who we think we learned them from, that would help the ego to realize, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm just running this program from these people that I learned this from.
Yep. And the biggest thing that in my experience on healing myself is most people walk around feeling they are not good enough. They're not enough. And when I was working the past couple of years on overcoming that, I had written on pieces of paper that I printed out and I plastered it all over my house. I am enough. I put it on my mirror. I put it on my door. I put it in my bedroom. I put it in my car. I put it on the kitchen refrigerator. I put it all over my house. So whenever I walked around, it was a reflection. You are enough. I am enough is what I wrote out. And it took me years of seeing that and reconditioning my mindset that I am enough, because I never felt like I was enough.
Yes. So now let me ask you this question, because I know you know it. This is for the viewers. If someone were to ask you, well, does your knowingness, does your belief in knowing that you're enough, let's say the ego believed it had to come from someone else's validation, someone saying, oh, great job, or I'm so proud of you, or you're so beautiful, or you're the smartest in your class, or you're the fastest sprinter on your team, or you're right? So like you said, we learn our negative traits from the time we're born. So if the subconscious starts hearing, oh, wow, I was praised by this person and that feels good. So they're being taught that positive reinforcement has to come from outside of them, right? So they're thinking that I can't change this belief because no one said that I'm worthy anymore. No one tells me anymore that I'm worthy. So how can I change this belief? Then you come along and say, well, it's got to come from you. And they're like, whoa, hold on a second. I was taught my whole life that the validation comes from outside of me. I've worked and struggled and labored for outside validation. Now you're telling me that it's so simple that it just comes from me? I don't believe it. Right? So, yeah. So, I mean, we've heard the adage that it takes 21 at times for the brain to learn something new before it accepts it as true. So it's like you're saying, we have to constantly remind ourselves, because the ego wants to default back and say, but I don't remember it like that. I remember having to struggle for my parents' approval or my spouse's approval or someone's approval, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you've even seen a lot of parents struggle for their children's approval.
Yes.
And then that's where things start to spiral, right?
Well, when I was going through this, I realized that I became such a super achiever because I never felt like I was enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I would overcompensate in whatever I did to feel validated that I was enough. And then when I had gotten breast cancer, I realized I don't need to work so hard to prove to everybody that I'm enough.
Yes.
And I did a whole self-evaluation and unpacked all of that and realized I am enough. I don't have to prove it to people, and let go of that and took all that stress and pressure off of me that I used to put on myself to be a super achiever and just relaxed with knowing I'm enough.
Yes. And, you know, Holly, it goes back to what you said earlier in the podcast about that false belief that it's really, really, really hard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be like that.
No, no. And it's also, you don't need anybody else to give you accolades or to make you feel good about yourself. That was a learned behavior growing up from age 0 to 7, that I had to behave and do certain things in order to get praise and recognition from my parents.
Yes.
And that then became a part of my life that I adopted. So everything became putting so much energy into being perfect and, being a super achiever.
Yes.
And then one day it's like, I don't have to do that anymore. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. And I don't need anybody's, praise to feel good about me. I inside know I'm enough, and I know, whatever faults I have, they're perfect in and of themselves. And I absolutely love myself. And it goes back again. I didn't love myself. I needed love reflected back to me that I was enough.
Yes.
But when I got to the point that I love myself, then I could let go of not feeling I'm not enough.
And so I just want to touch on what you just said. It was so good. When we have these perceived ideas that we have a fault really is just a way for us to learn something about ourselves and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because
exactly.
Yeah, because the fault is just something that we're choosing to believe.
Right.
Right? So once we realize, okay, well, this fault that I think I have is actually a benefit, because it's showing me that's actually, it's helping me to grow by realizing, well, that's not really who I am, or it used to be who I was, and it doesn't serve me anymore, and now I'm going to change.
And that goes back to asking the questions. People, why am I this way? Why does this not happen? Well, I'm asking the wrong questions. Now, when I have something show up in my life, what is this to teach me?
Yes.
This is showing up. What's the opposite of what that is? That it's to teach me. That's how I look at things now. Where before it was like, well, why is this happening to me? And then you'd create more of why it's happening to you, because that's my intention I'm putting out. Where if you can look at, okay, this is showing up to give me a benefit, to show me the opposite, the positive of somewhere I'm lacking in my life to be better. If you can shift your thinking into that and ask different questions, you're going to get a different reality showing up than the reality that you're creating based on your bad questions you're asking.
Absolutely. So Holly, have you ever heard of the book? It's called Acres of Diamonds.
Yes.
Okay. So just for our viewers, I just wanted to explain how neat this is. So I was talking to a patient the other day about this, and they were asking me, how do I do this? And where did this come from? And where do I have to go to learn this? So I said, have you ever read that book, Acres of Diamonds? And they said, no. I said, well, really quickly, it's a very short book, but it's about a farmer who had heard that there was diamonds in the area, and he had his land that he sold. And then he went off in search of diamonds, and he spent years and years looking for the diamonds and used up all the money that he had made on the sale of his land to come back to where he lived, and was empty-handed. And when he came back, he came to find out that the person who bought his land was digging and found acres and acres of diamonds. So it was right within him the whole time. It was in his land, which means the answers are always within us. And we struggle and struggle and struggle for, like you're saying, outside approval or outside validation. But it's always within us. The answer, the love, the joy is always within us.
Yes. Yeah. It's nobody gives you that. Nobody makes you feel love. Nobody can give you joy. Nobody can give you happiness.
Mhm.
That is something within yourself. You have to be it. You have to every day just be what you want.
Yes. And I remember asking a mentor of mine, how do you stay so happy all the time? And I thought it was going to be this drawn out example using the law of attractiveness. He said, I just choose to.
Right.
I was like, that's so simple. He goes, I know.
Right.
But most people aren't doing it because they make it harder than it has to be. It's just a choice.
It is a choice. All of life is just a choice.
Yes.
You can change your mind and that choice instantly. We think it's hard, and it's not.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
another thing that
Yes.
I have discovered is, sometimes we do fall in bad moods, or, we're not in this always joyful, happy state. If you're not, don't stay there long. Like, I can now pivot real quick, where I used to be, mulling in that energy for a long time, and it would take a while to shift out of it. Now it's, if I am not happy or get upset, I can pivot real quick and change my attitude real quick, because I choose not to be like that.
So give the listeners your brief step-by-step of how you pivot.
So I will catch myself if I find I'm not happy or upset about something. I'll stop myself and say, okay, what's going on? Why are you not happy? And recognize it. It's recognizing that you're not is the first step to pivoting, and saying, okay, I choose to go back to joy and happiness. And just instantly, like I've been conditioning myself now long enough, I could do that real quick, where it would take some time to shift, but now it's just almost innate.
Beautiful.
It's building a muscle.
Right.
When you're in the gym, you can't lift 50 pounds. You start off with smaller weights and build up till you can get stronger. It's the same with your emotional body. Your emotional body needs to build an inner strength where it can just shift into the feeling and the emotions that we want to have, which is joy and happiness, gratitude.
Yes. Amazing. Yes. I love it. So as we wrap up, let's summarize the most important elements about the vibration to our listeners. Let's really get them to understand the importance of mastering where their vibration is.
So you go first.
Okay. Just like you said, the first step is acknowledge your feelings. If I'm in a place of fear or lack or thinking I can't have something, I can't try and figure out how to solve the problem. I have to first acknowledge that I have those feelings. Because once I can validate those feelings, now I can understand what my state of being is going to be. Because now my state of being is going to be fear, or I won't have enough, or how's this going to happen? And the universe will only say yes to that. So once I can recognize my vibration, I can change it. So step one for me is recognition. What's for you?
So for me, it's my questions. What
Mhm.
am I asking? Am I asking questions that are creating a negative reality for myself and blocking what I want? Or am I asking questions the right way to have what it is I want?
Mhm.
So it's looking at, what am I saying to the universe? What is my intention to the
Mhm.
universe?
Yes. So then my second step, just like you're saying, is with the questions. When I listen to the questions that I'm asking the universe, now I'm going to play it to my advantage. So now when I've changed my vibration to one of abundance, to one of knowing that, not only knowing that it's coming to me, but knowing that that's who I am. When I become the abundance, when I become the version of me who's going to find the perfect relationship, when I become the version of me who's able to see the perfect job, when I become that, now I know I've deliberately just changed my vibration, and now my vibration is going to manifest my intention.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the questions are so powerful. Is
The
there anything
questions
else?
are
Anything?
powerful.
Yeah.
And and then with the questions, your belief system is next. Are your belief systems of fear? Is fear your underlying belief system that you're putting out there? Or are you in that absolute place of abundance and gratitude that you will draw that to you?
Yes.
So get real with where your belief system is at.
Absolutely true. And then, like you were saying, just recognize how easy it is.
It is easy.
Mhm.
Everything in life is easy. We make
Yes.
it hard. We think it has to be hard. And if
Yes.
you're putting out that everything in life is hard and it's a struggle and it's a challenge, that's what you're going to get more of. When you
Correct.
just realize life is easy, it is that easy, then that's what you're going to get. Things just magically show up in your life.
That's exactly right. And what I've also seen in my life and other people's is they have a period where a whole bunch of positive abundance starts flowing into them. And then they start saying, well, how do I do this? And can I keep it going? And the second,
Then you're going to block yourself if you do that.
exactly, because it goes back to what you just said. It was just so easy. If we stay in the flow of the ease of thinking it's easy, it'll be easy.
Yes,
We'll say, I don't know how I did it, but I'm going to keep doing it again. I'm just going to allow it in.
right. The universe matches your vibration.
Mhm.
So if you're in that vibration of ease, then you're in that flow where everything in your life is flowing easily. If you're in
Absolutely.
that vibration, this is a struggle, this is hard, that's what you're gonna have. The universe will match that vibration.
So true. It it really is it really is an amazing life when we just realize how simple and easy the flow is.
Yes, and it's a choice. Just make
Yes,
better choices.
absolutely.
We have the power within us. It's nothing outside of us. It's, people that have been raised in horrible circumstances have overcome that and become, super achievers, what we would say super achievers in life, because they shifted their belief system that they could, that they were enough, that they were worthy. And
Yes.
we don't feel worthy. We, for some reason, think, in order to be living a godly life, we have to struggle. We have to, be in this life where, in order to be a good servant of God, you shouldn't have an easy, comfortable material life. Like, you have to sacrifice. You have to, you know, be poor, and that's going to get you into heaven, is a belief system that a lot of people have.
And you know, Holly, it's so contradictory to this universe because this universe is an abundant universe.
It
So
is.
why would God want us to struggle when this universe is designed to give us everything we desire? If you really think about it, it makes no sense, right? When people bought into that false belief that you're supposed to struggle or not have what you desire, when this universe is literally, it's literally a mirror. giving us everything we could desire at all times. If I'm in a place that I can't have it, it will be reflected right back to me of not having it. If I see myself having it, it'll be reflected to me. So it is an infinitely abundant universe.
It is. I mean, all you have to do is wake up and look outside.
Mm-hmm.
Outside, there is abundance. The birds, just fly and they find food. They don't have a false belief that it's going to be difficult trying to find food every day or they have to starve. But that's our belief system. The animals, I have deer come on my property and they just walk and graze and it's right there.
Yes.
It's abundance. Life is abundant if we adopt that belief system.
So perfect. Well, Holly, this was so much fun doing this. And
this was great.
I really know our listeners are going to get a lot from this, and we thank our listeners for being with us. And I thank you, Holly, for doing this with me as always.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. So have a wonderful, blessed day, everyone. And remember, you are enough. Change your questions and get what you want in life.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining Healing Through Love, and please stay tuned for future shows. And join us as we spread the power of love.